The crown jewels of U.S. public policy related to research and development and the development of technology was born just about 70 years ago with the creation of our government network of labs, our national labs. Think of Los Alamos, think about Oregon, think about Livermore. Those are the crown jewels of the U.S. policy coming out of the Second World War. Obviously, an enormously important activity. Today, the national labs and the government labs in the United States secure on the order of about $70 billion a year worth of research to continue that enormously important mission. If you add all the other investments in research and development that go to our universities, you can add another $110 or $115 billion, giving us about $185 billion of public investment in next-generation research for technology to lead the country, both in its industrial and security needs around the world. I just want to hasten to add that if you add those two pieces up, that today represents only 22% of all research and development related to our technology in this economy, in our economy here. 78% or $700 billion has actually been privatized. $700 billion of our research and development budgets in this country's expenditures are actually in our tech companies and in private investment. That wasn't always the case. So again, 78%, 12%. I'm sorry, 22%. Another important piece to understand here is that wasn't always the case. Back in 1980, private investment in our research and development was at $70 billion. So something has changed. And the first thing I want to just put on the table as it relates to our future is actually a decision, intentional or perhaps less so, of the way in which we have shifted from public investment in research and development for technologies, including, of course, AI, including enormously important quantum and fusion technologies, has happened. I just want to pick up on a theme from earlier in the day that's been running throughout, and that's what about the story in China? What's been going on in China? China also has, actually, in purchasing power, actually has about $1 trillion worth of investment in research and development. And interestingly enough, it too has about the same amount being spent by universities and by their labs. That is a proportionate to their total $1 trillion. But the difference for them is that, in fact, all of it is orchestrated and aligned. The planning related to research and development, the planning for how to leverage industrial innovation for commercialization, for defense purposes, is all aligned in a very significant way. Let me just offer you another sort of important insight here, because it's not only that shift that, again, in China, in relatively short order, has created parity, but parity that is aligned and, in fact, one might argue, significantly accelerating as a result of its alignment against our kind of mixed economy approach, low regulation, privatization that characterizes our reality. The second piece has got to do with the pipeline of talent that is out there. And in the United States, we produce about 200,000 engineering undergraduates a year. Today in China, they've just surpassed 700,000 and on their way to a targeted goal. Again, it's driven by the central decision-making to 1 million engineering students graduating every year. You take a look at the PhDs in STEM education that are in fact graduating in the United States, we're on the order of about 30,000 or so, on the order of about 30,000 PhDs that are graduating in STEM every year. And in China, they have just passed 75,000 on a stated goal to 100,000 students for, again, STEM PhDs in the country. So the first trend is obviously there's a huge competition that is in play there. The Chinese obviously have a significant alignment and a targeted goal. We continue both on the research and development as well as in the area of the pipeline for talent to be run the way we've always been run, which is, again, a very laissez-faire kind of orientation. I just want to talk very, very briefly about two emerging technologies that I think are hugely important. So again, the whole AI race, which of course the panel will talk about, I think needs to at least in part be contextualized that way in terms of where we're investing, who's investing, and where's the talent coming from. But in the emergence of quantum in the United States, in terms of public investment, you might not be surprised at this point that we're not investing a whole lot in quantum. About $600 or so million a year we're investing as public investment in our labs and in our research university environment. If you add private investments, which is approximately another $3 billion of private investment in quantum, you kind of go, great, that sounds like a pretty healthy investment in next generation technologies. But let's immediately state the case that in China, just public investment alone, forgetting that we actually don't know exactly where all of the private money is playing right now, is at $8.5 billion. It's a significant shift in that piece of enormously important technology, and it doesn't stand alone from the AI conversation. AI and quantum are inextricably linked together. And again, the next race is around quantum. And right now, again, our laissez-faire approach may not be serving us well, especially when we also take into account the pipeline. And finally, in fusion technology, which is, again, got to do with energy. And last year, we spoke a lot here at this forum about the emergence of important considerations of energy to support this next generation of AI-driven economics and the like. And here, too, the United States is at a significant disadvantage with respect to investment that is going on, both in our public investments in our labs and our universities. It's on the order of about $800,000 worth of investment right now in terms of grants that are available in that regard on fusion technologies. It's an area of enormous importance on energy. And public and private investment is significantly larger. We don't really know what the numbers add up to, but let's just say conservatively another $2.5 or so billion that are in play there. So again, added up 300 million plus another 2.5 billion. In China, again, just in terms of public investment alone, it's 2x. So we've got 3x in quantum, 2x in fusion, parity in terms of the investments that are underway more broadly in the economy for R&D, and obviously an enormously important moment in time for us to consider what should be the U.S. policy with respect to our own economy, our position vis-a-vis China. And one last thing just to share with you for your consideration here that we've begun to see, and to pick up a theme from the conversation here at the forum, is an enormous amount of the technology that's in play. AI, very soon quantum on AI, is now incredibly mobile and can be basically run off of laptops anywhere in the world. And asymmetric warfare is another huge important part of this. How do we actually frame policies that are going to make the U.S. competitive and actually win the race when it comes to, again, AI, quantum, and fusion in a way that makes it possible for us to work with other nation states to create frameworks, treaties for actually doing work together so as to protect the opportunities to resist and what will inevitably happen, as we're already seeing in all kinds of skirmishes and wars around the world, which is the proliferation of these technologies run off of laptops inside environments, creating enormously complicated asymmetric competition. And with that, I give you your panel.